focus on fundamentals. Today we're going to talk about needles and threads. As you know, I carry Superior needles and threads exclusively, and the reason is I love the fact that they work together. Okay, so Superior has top stitch needles, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but they only have 4. So you can buy 4 packs of needles and have needles for any possible situation that you may encounter while you're quilting. Okay? So the Superior needles, the reason I like them is for 3 reasons. Number one, they are top stitch, which means they have a groove down the center of the shaft. They have an eye that is elongated, and we'll talk about why that's important. And they are titanium coated. Sometimes in the past, they've always said that there's been a rumor that titanium coated needles, don't use them for, just don't, because they're going to screw up your machine if they break. They're going to cause damage to your machine. That is a fallacy, okay? For years, the garment industry, if you think of the garment shops in Mexico or wherever our clothes are made, they use titanium coated needles because they last longer. And that's why I like to use them. If they cause damage to a machine, do you think the mills would be using them? No. So titanium coated needles are safe to use in your machines. Get that out of the way to begin with. So the shaft of the needle is to hold your thread. Okay, your thread is going to sit right there in that little groove. The eye of the needle is elongated because it helps the thread to go through your needle and into your fabric more smoothly. Regular universal needles have almost a circle for an eye. And if you think about it, the thread is going into that circle, and if your needle is going up and down and it's going through a circle, it's got more chance of shredding because it's got a small space to deal with. Where with the elongated eye, it's going to go smoothly. There's going to be less interruption with the needle or with the thread hitting the eye of the needle. Does that make sense? So that's why the elongated needle or the elongated eye. And the needles are all based on thread weight. Okay? When you come in and ask me, I'm working with batiks, what kind of needle do I use? The first thing I'll say to you is, what kind of thread are you using? What weight of thread? Because Superior is based on thread weight. So if you have, we'll start at the beginning, if you have a 70-10 needle, right on the package, it's going to say for quilting, applique, and embroidery using very fine threads, size 60 or 60 weight to 100 weight. If you are using an 80-12, which most of us use, for piecing, applique, and sewing using fine threads that are 50 weight. The size 90-14s are medium. For medium threads, they're 40 weight. Okay, those are your quilting threads, like King Tut. And then if you're using really heavy threads, 30 weight threads, you're going to want the 116. This would be like bottom line, which is a 30 weight thread that you could use for quilting. A lot of long armors use 30 weight thread. They love the bottom line. It's thicker, so you need a bigger eyed needle. So let's start with our 80-12s. 80-12s are for 50 weight thread. 50 weight thread is going to be Masterpiece. Okay, any Masterpiece thread that I have is 50 weight, and it goes with the 80-12 needles. It says so right on the package, and it also says use top stitch needle 80-12. Okay, so they tell you right on the package what needles to use and what threads to use so that they go together nicely. For the 40 weight threads, which are King Tut, Okay, they're a little thicker. They're used for quilting. Okay, so you're going to use the 9014 needles. Now, if you use an 8012 needle, which is meant for a 50 weight thread, and you put a 40 weight thread in it, okay, the thread is thicker than what's recommended for the needle, which means that thread, instead of sitting in that groove, is going to float on top of that groove, okay, which means you're not going to get a really good stitch. It'll go through the eye of the needle, but it's not going to give you a good stitch. And on the reverse side, if you use bottom line, or let's go the other way, if you use 100 weight thread, a really fine thread, and you put it in a needle that's meant for 50 weight, there's a gap. Okay, the gap between the thread and that shaft is going to cause your thread to jiggle around in there. You're going to get a really loose stitch. Your stitch isn't going to be as nice as you want it to be. So that's why I use Superior. I match the needles to the threads. It works. Okay, why Superior thread? They use long staple Egyptian cotton. So the staples are the little fibers that come off the cotton ball. And the longer they are, the less, when they get spun together, the less hairs, nubs, whatever, that you're going to get. Because if you put little tiny pieces together, you're going to get a lot of little hairs. Those little hairs cause fuzz, which cause the lint in our machines. The long staple cotton, there's less put together to make a strand, so there's a lot less hairs, a lot less little fibers, okay, a lot less lint in your machine. So that's why I like the Superior. You can always go to superiorthreads.com. They have a great website. They have great educational tools there. Bob, the owner, does videos. So you can get all this information and more if you just go to their educational site, click on the videos. He's got a long list of videos, anything that you would want to know, from tension to thread weights and everything in between. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below. Give me a call or stop in. I'd be happy to help you out. And until next time, have a great week.